Okay, let's work on filtering the to-dos. Right now, when we click on these filters at the top on the navigation bar, nothing happens. And so what I want to do in this video is to add logic and appropriate event listeners to be able to handle the case when a user wants to filter among their to-dos. So the first thing we probably want to do is to go and somehow recognize that a user has clicked on one of these. So looking at my HTML, I have this nav bar with the idea of to-do nav. So maybe that's a good place to start. We can go here, try to get hold of the to-do nav. So document get element by ID, get element by ID, and give it the to-do nav. And once we got hold of that element, we want something like this. We want to add a event listener to it. So the event that I'm gonna react to is when somebody clicked on it. So it's instead of a key down, we're gonna say click, and then we gotta need to create a new function. So let's say function handle click on navbar event. So as you know, the event listener will pass in an event object. So let's go and work with the actual logic of handling this event. When somebody goes and clicks on this, right, I want to only respond if the click actually happened on these anchor elements, not everywhere else. So the way I can filter through that is to look at the event, and then you look at the target of that event, and then I can do tag name and see if that tag name is A for anchor. If you see here, like these elements, these are anchor elements, right? So if an anchor was clicked on, then this condition becomes true. So that's when I'm interested in doing something. Outside of that, I'm not interested. So let's say the user did click on one of these anchor elements. Then what is interesting about these elements is the href that they have. So we can go and try to get the href. And that href is basically a string. So href value, let's say. All right, so this is a string. And so let's say if you click on completed, this is going to come out as this string. Hashtag / completed. So now let's go and work with, I want to try to parse this completed part out of this string. There are a few different ways that I can go doing that. I'm going to show you one strategy where we can work with the built-in functions for strings in JavaScript. So I can call this function called a split and ask it to split the string at this / point. So the result of this is going to be an array where the first element is going to be the hashtag and the next element is going to be this completed. So it breaks it into an array where every place that was a hashtag, it sort of becomes this separator or delimiter for the elements. Now, once I got this array, I'm only interested in the last element in this array, the part after the /. So I can do an array operation on it. I can say pop, and if I do pop, this will basically take that last value and give it back to me. So I can maybe say const action is what comes out of this. So you got to be careful. I want to use this to update the filter variable because it can be all active or completed, but you got to be careful with when somebody clicks on all, because the way we designed it earlier is that the href of it is just / it's hashtag /. So if somebody clicks on all, they're not going to get all, they're going to get this. And that means this is going to be empty string, this is going to be empty string. So if we want to update the filter, we can do something like if action is an empty string, then assign all to the filter. Otherwise, use the value of action and update the filter. And so let's go and actually console log the filter and see if we are getting the right value. Let's save this, go to the console, clean the console, and then click on this, completed, active, all. Completed, active, all. There you go. So we are correctly taking the filter in and updating it. Okay, now I don't want to actually console log the filter. What I want to do is to update, like re-render this list only with the appropriate to-dos filtered based on the filter selected by the user. So it again comes down to, like, there was a user instruction, the state changed, and we need to do a UI change, right? So we got to call the render to-dos here rather than console logging the filter. But we do need to go back and update the logic of render to-dos so that rather than going over like all the to-dos and print them out, it would just go over the filtered to-dos. A few different ways to do this. Here is one strategy. I'm going to create a filtered to-dos array. Okay. And I'm going to set it to empty array. And then I'm going to do something similar to this. I'm just going to loop over all the to-dos. So const to-dos at I. And then I'm going to push that to-do, filtered to-dos dot push. I'm going to push that to-do to it. But we will do the pushing conditioned on the filters and the completed status of the to-do, right? So let's do an if. We can say if the filter is all, then just push everything to the filtered to-dos. Like all of them will go in. Else if the filter says just give me maybe the completed ones, right? Then you also need to check if the to-do in question is completed. So if to-do completed is true, then you go about pushing this thing in. Otherwise you skip over it. And something similar, right, for the last case where you're looking for active ones, and so their completed should be false, and then you push that in. So this logic basically populates the filter to do based on the filter value. Now what you can do is, rather than iterating over all the to-dos and printing them out or displaying them, you just iterate over the filter to-dos. The rest of the logic is the same, right? So like filter the to-dos and then render the filter to-dos. Okay, so that's our render to-dos function. The event handler we're not interested in. This is the event handler for click on a navbar. And let's save this, go and see if our app actually works. Let's clean this up. I don't think we actually need to take a look at this. Refresh this. So let's say active. There you go. Completed, only the completed one, all. Okay, so our filtering works. There is one subtle touch that we need to update here. If you see, there is this underline, and that underline is supposed to be the visual cue on the UI to signal that this is the filter that is selected. So when I go and like click on another one, I would like this underline to come under the filter that I selected. So let's go and take care of that. We have, well, again, we're thinking user interacted, state change, UI change, right? So user interacted here, we do the UI change for rendering the to-dos. We need to maybe have like another function to take care of changing the UI for the navbar. We can call it something like render navbar items or render to-do navbar. How about that? All right, and so I need to create this function. Let's maybe go here closer to the other rendering function that I have. Okay, so what is it that we want to create here? Let's take a look at what we've got here again. So this is the navbar, and we kind of want to go over the elements in the navbar and adjust the styling for them, right? So how about we start by just getting hold of the navbar. To do nav document get element by ID, and again it's called to do nav. All right, once we got hold of this element, we want to actually iterate over the stuff in it, or in other words, its children. So we can say const anchors or elements and say to do nav dot children. That allows us to go over all of these. So now we can have a loop that goes over all of these. Let I be 0, I is less than elements dot length, I plus plus, and then we can say const element from elements at I. Okay, so we get hold of an element, right? And what we would like to do is to go and like add these styling to it. So like class list, add, and then well, let me just like add all of these styles to it, and once I add it, I'm gonna like come back and adjust it so that it is done selectively. But let's like go and add all of this. Like this is a lot, so we have to like break it down. So this is like add an underline to it, and you know, with the right offset, with the right decoration, and all of that good stuff. Okay, I don't think we need to worry about the padding of it. We just concern ourselves with the like the underline. So if I do this, and if I go and like click on one of these, now all of them will get the underline, right? And that's because I didn't do this selectively. I actually want to do this only on the element that was clicked on. So I need somehow to know which element was clicked on, and we can get help from handle click on navbar, because you kind of know who was clicked on, and maybe you can pass something unique about it, like its href value. If you pass the href and you capture the href, and then you come here and say if the element dot href is the same as the href, then apply this styling to it, then it would be a selective operation, right? Okay, so let us click on one of these. I don't see the underline to go under it. Let's href value. Let me show you something. Let us debug this. Let's put a debugger here. Save this, go here and like click on complete it. This, we need to make it bigger so we can see what's going on in the debugger. Maybe bring this a little further up. So we are here, and so this is the to-do nav. That's correct. And then we get the elements. That is correct. These are the 3 anchors. Then we go and grab the first element. So that is the first anchor. And then we do if element href. Oh, wait a second. This is not href value. It must be href. Right, I misspelled this. Let's stop this. Go back to our app. I think I got the problem. The attribute is called href, not href value. There we go. That was the problem. Okay, so now there's another obvious problem. Like we don't want this. When we select something, we want to add these to the one that was selected, and then we need to like remove it from all the other ones. So we can drop this here and say remove. Right, so now we got the active one, like all, and then click on active. So now it's only active selected, all is removed, completed, right? And here's how it looks like. So this is the correct behavior that we want to have, and that is the behavior of filtering.